witnessing tomorrow, and what we already started witnessing with the hoisting of the flags of UN and Ghana specifically, simultaneously together. To my immediate right is Abdul Rahman Lamin from UNESCO, and also Mrs. Beatrice Brobe from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Regional Integration. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
And thanks for joining us. As a member of UNESCO, what do you do there?
Well, I'm a social scientist at UNESCO, and UNESCO is an international organization, a specialized agency of the United Nations that has a mandate to promote peace and security through cooperation in the area of education, the sciences, communication, and culture. And so we work with Ghana, which is a member state of the of UNESCO and the United Nations, to try to support what the government does to promote the development agenda of this country.
Okay. Yeah. Mrs. Brobe, over here in Ghana, we've all the time been queried for being the first to sign whichever charter that comes from UN, whether on children, on the rights of individuals, on food security and everything. We seem to be the first to sign and agree with the parts that come. How have we as Ghanaians understood the purpose of UN in the face of the fact that even our own Kofi Annan was on top of issues some time ago?
Actually, as you rightly said, Ghana has been a credible member of the organization. You know, immediately after independence, we joined the UN. We've been 55 years, okay? But then, as you said, we sign charters, we sign agreements. We do put them, you know, implement them. Where we have gone a bit wrong is the fact that there hasn't been much advocacy on what government does as far as our relation with the UN is. But at least I'm pretty sure a lot of Ghanaians know about peacekeeping. Peacekeeping is that aspect of our relationship with the UN that, you know, that has been sensitized. But then the others have not. When we come to in all spheres of our life, education, we have a relationship with the UN. A UN, this is a specialized agency, is responsible for education. Okay? Now, health, we have WHO. We've been working with all the specialized agencies, but as I said, we may have not sensitized the public about what we do. And if you talk about even concluding agreements and not implementing them, we do. I know why you mentioned, because we all usually say Ghana was one of the first countries to ratify the Convention on the Rights of the Child. But the government is doing a lot in the promotion and protection of the rights of the child. Now we have...
I won't want us to spread our tentacles too much and get into the details of implementation of some of these agreements that we sign with UN. But let's put UN on board and see what it means to us. What exactly we are supposed to do with all these agreements that they, I wouldn't say they bind us or they impose on us, but they negotiate with us to agree and to support humanity. For instance, the ones that you've mentioned, when UN suggests something to nations, what do they expect the nations to do with it?
Well, first of all, let me correct you. The UN does not suggest anything to any nation. The UN is made up of member states, and whatever it is that comes out of the UN are programs and the agenda of member states. First of all, we have to know the aim of why it was established. It was born out of, you know, the world wars. So then member countries just sat down and said, no, we don't want to see this tragedy again. So they came together and then decided to come up with a charter that is basically the protection, you know, and preservation of peace in the world. you know, and as it was growing, then the member countries then realized there was the need for social protection and development. So that also was included.
So as
everything
we move on
that
and
comes,
we find out the need to establish more things for our own safety.
So anything that comes out of the UN is not something that is being imposed on any country. It is that which member countries come up with, and then the Secretariat carries it out, you know, together with the UN various agencies.
Yeah.
All right. If you want to add before I ask.
Sure. Let me underscore that point. I think it is important to stress that UN is a member state organization, and I couldn't agree more with what Mrs. Brody has said. This year marks the 65th anniversary of the United Nations. And because Ghana is a member of the UN, the theme that we have this year is Ghana-UN cooperation, implementing the Millennium Development Goals. Mrs. Brody mentioned that when the UN was established, it was established as a result of the Second World War. And therefore, the key issue was to ensure that you have an international organization that has a mandate to promote international peace and security. Now, over the last 50 or so years, it has become increasingly clear that peace, security, and development are interrelated. And as a result of that, in 2000, the member states of the United Nations, 189 heads of state, met in New York and adopted the Millennium Declaration, which was propagated in the form of the Millennium Development Goals, 8 of which you know, were reviewed just recently at the UN General Assembly. Ghana was one of those member states that adopted the Millennium Declaration and has been working towards implementing those Millennium Goals. So our celebration this week of UN Week is to try to spotlight, you know, what are some of the successes that Ghana has achieved in implementing the Millennium Development Goals, but also to reflect on the challenges that still remain to attain those goals. As I mentioned, there are 8 Millennium Development Goals, and Ghana has gone in the last 8 years. Remember, as Mr. Brody said, there are many UN agencies in Ghana, about 18 UN agencies that work on all kinds of issues from maternal mortality to education and issues of health more broadly. When you look at those 8 goals, you would see that all of those agencies have a role to play, and because of our relationship with Ghana over the last 50 or odd years that Ghana has been part of the UN, we have a daily interaction with our colleagues in government to ensure that the goals that speak to giving access to Ghanaian children to have education, protecting mothers from dying, you know, as a result of childbirth, the goals on cutting poverty into half, or looking at issues of hunger. It is clear that this is an area where, these are areas where, you know, the UN and the Ghanaian authorities, you know, have been working over the last 10 years. The result that we see is a mixed one because Ghana has made progress in achieving some of the goals that have been set. For instance, Goal 1, which talks about ensuring that the Ghanaian authorities, in partnership with the development partners, work towards cutting extreme poverty into half. We have seen a reduction in the rate of poverty in Ghana over the last several years, but we also know that there are challenges that need to be overcome if we are to attain the goals by 2015. Remember, the MDGs were set up to be implemented over a 15-year period. This is 10 years, and the review over the last 10 years suggests that there has been significant progress made in a number of areas, but there are also challenges that remain over the last 5 years. So the key moving forward now is Ghana and the United Nations and development partners have to make sure that we accelerate, you know, our efforts in the areas where we haven't done so well, to ensure that by 2015, even if we don't achieve all of the goals as set out in the declaration, in the Millennium Development Goals of 2000, we are able to make significant progress to impact on the lives of people.
Okay, I realized it was a fine speech. I needed for you to finish it out all because you've said everything. But let's see what happens. We've seen the flag raising ceremony. Mrs. Bobe, what else happens tomorrow and the day after?
Let me take you back. We began by a press conference, just informing the Ghanaian population of the fact that the UN is 65 and the activities that we'll be putting forward for the celebration and what our relationship with the UN, what is it that we have gained from our relationship with the UN. And then it was climaxed by the flag raising, but that was yesterday. That is the 22nd. The flag raising should have come on tomorrow, being the birthday, the actual birthday. But because it's a Sunday, the UN pushed it to Friday, so we have had it. And already we decided as a country to sensitize the Ghanaian public. And as a result of that, we've had from Monday adult education programs. And then, so tomorrow will be the exact date and the last program. We'll have, there's a quiz, what do you know, in the afternoon. And then in the evening, we'll have talking points.
All right. So basically, it's an involvement of everybody knowing about the UN, our participation, and what it has done for us, and especially towards the attainment of the Millennium Development.
And that was the more reason why we chose that theme. That Ghana UN cooperation, achieving the Millennium Development Goals by 2015 for a better Ghana.
All right. I'd like to thank you. You still have something to say?
Well, I just think that this conversation should continue because, as you said, the UN is ultimately about the people. When you look at the charter, it says, we the peoples of the United Nations. And so it is important that this conversation continues. Exactly. You know, it has to be a continuous dialogue between the UN, the people, and the government.
All right. We will only add our voice and say, long live UN, because as far as we are all concerned, there's nothing that has come out from the charters that seem to have bad effects on us. Only the implementation has been our down elsewhere to agree to achieve. So in this day that we commemorate the existence of UN, and we say congratulations to our illustrious sons who've also been part of the United Nations organization, especially for me, at least I know Busumu Kofiana and also Mrs. Chinehesi that have come to know the work there. We wish you all the best as you remember your days in UN, and all of us who have enjoyed one way or the other some of the charters you've signed for us. We want to congratulate all of you and say that the celebration is for you to know more. Thank you so much for joining us today. The show continues. Please stay.